The massive alien ship appeared over New York without warning. Its arrival sent waves of panic through the city until the first message came. "We come in peace." Within hours, the news spread worldwide. Humanity was about to join the galactic community. Captain Jack Thompson stood at attention in the hastily prepared landing zone at Kennedy Space Center, trying to keep his expression neutral as the alien shuttle descended. After 20 years in the Space Force, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. The shuttle looked like a giant silver teardrop, touching down without a sound on landing gear that seemed to grow from its hull like roots. The delegation that emerged was a sight that would be forever burned into human history. 3 different alien species walked down the ramp together. The tallest ones had blue-tinted skin and moved with an unusual grace. The shortest were covered in what looked like golden fur. But it was their leader who drew all eyes, a being who seemed to be made of shifting crystal formations. "Welcome to Earth," said the UN Secretary General, stepping forward to greet them. The crystalline being inclined what passed for its head. "We are the Galactic Council," it said in perfect English, its voice resonating like wind chimes. "We have watched your species for some time. Despite your primitive technology, we believe you are ready to join galactic civilization." Jack noticed the slight pause, the hint of condescension. He kept his face carefully blank, but his jaw tightened slightly. 20 years of military discipline served him well at that moment. "As is our custom," the crystal being continued, "we bring a gift to mark your acceptance into the galactic community." It gestured gracefully with one crystalline appendage toward the sky. Everyone looked up as a shadow fell over the landing zone. Jack's breath caught in his throat. A massive ship was descending through the clouds, its hull a patchwork of different metals and materials. It was huge, at least a mile long, but something about it seemed off. As it got closer, Jack could see the wear and tear, the obvious patches and repairs, the outdated-looking weapon systems. "This is the Stellar Wraith," the crystal being announced. "A decommissioned warship from our 3rd expansion era. We grant it to humanity as your first step into the stars." Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez stepped up beside Jack, her dark eyes narrowing as she studied the descending vessel. "Captain," she whispered, "that thing looks like it's been through a garbage compactor." "Twice." Jack nodded slightly. He'd seen junkyards with ships in better condition. The Stellar Wraith settled into orbit with a visible wobble that made several of the human engineers wince. The blue-skinned alien pulled out what looked like a data tablet. "Here are the access codes and basic operational protocols," it said, its tone suggesting it was doing them a great favor. "The ship has been simplified for your level of technology. We've removed most of the advanced systems you wouldn't understand, leaving only basic life support and minimal propulsion." Jack accepted the tablet, noting the barely concealed smirks on the alien faces. Behind him, he heard poorly concealed snickers from the golden-furred beings. "We look forward to seeing what you make of it," the crystal being said, its tone making it clear they weren't expecting much. The formal ceremony continued for another hour, full of speeches about cooperation and advancement. Jack tuned most of it out, his eyes fixed on the battered hulk hanging in orbit. Something about this whole situation felt off. Later, as he and Maria led the first inspection team to the Stellar Wraith, his suspicions were confirmed. The ship was a mess. The corridors were stripped bare of anything valuable, with exposed conduits and empty equipment bays everywhere. The bridge looked like it had been ransacked, with most of the advanced control systems removed and replaced with what the aliens clearly considered simple interfaces. "This isn't a gift," Maria said, running her hand along a scared bulkhead. "It's an insult. They gave us their trash and expected us to be grateful." Jack watched as his engineering team spread out through the ship, taking readings and making notes. Despite the ship's condition, they looked excited. Humans had always been good at making the best of bad situations. "Maybe," he replied, "but they made a mistake." Maria looked up from her tablet. "What's that?" "They assumed we'd see what they see. A piece of junk." Jack smiled slightly. But I'm betting there's still plenty we can learn from this old girl. And they've given us something even more valuable. What's that, Captain? Freedom to experiment. Think about it. If they'd given us a top-of-the-line ship, it would have come with restrictions, monitoring, controls. But this, he gestured at the stripped-down corridors. They don't care what we do with their garbage. They probably expect us to fail spectacularly. Maria's eyes lit up as she caught his meaning. And while they're busy laughing at us, we can do whatever we want with it. Jack finished. No oversight. No restrictions. Just human ingenuity and a whole lot of space to work with. Their conversation was interrupted by an excited shout from one of the engineering team. They rushed to the source and found Bob Walker, their demolitions expert, practically bouncing with excitement in what appeared to be an engine room. "You've got to see this," he said, pointing to what looked like a massive reactor core. They left the main power system intact, probably thought it was too primitive to bother removing. But look at the design. It's similar to our fusion reactors, just scaled up. With some modifications, we could boost its power output significantly. Maria finished, already running calculations on her tablet. They probably think it's ancient technology, but it's actually pretty close to what we've been developing on Earth. Jack watched as his team swarmed over the engine room, already discussing modifications and improvements. The aliens had given them what they considered junk, expecting humans to embarrass themselves trying to operate it. Instead, they'd handed humanity a playground for innovation. "Get me a full inventory," he ordered. Every system, every empty space, every piece of tech they left behind. Let's show our new friends what humans can do with a little junk. As he walked back to the bridge, Jack could hear the excited chatter of his engineering team echoing through the corridors. The aliens thought they were giving Earth a lesson in humility. Instead, they might have just handed humanity the keys to the stars. In orbit above them, the Galactic Council's ship prepared to depart. The Crystal being stood at a viewport, watching the tiny human shuttles ferrying back and forth to their gift. "How long do you think it will take them to realize they can't even power it up properly?" the blue-skinned alien asked, amusement clear in its voice. "Does it matter?" the Crystal being replied. "Let them waste their resources trying to restore this relic. It will keep them occupied while we evaluate their true potential." They had no way of knowing that at that very moment, Maria was already drawing up plans to adapt Earth's newest fusion technology to the stellar wraith's power core. They couldn't have guessed that Bob was identifying ways to repurpose the ship's primitive systems in ways their original designers had never imagined. And they certainly didn't realize that Captain Jack Thompson was beginning to see the potential for turning their insulting gift into something that would shock the entire galaxy. The first day of humanity's greatest project was just beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after receiving the stellar wraith, Earth's orbital space buzzed with activity. Shuttles moved back and forth constantly, carrying equipment and personnel to the old warship. Inside, the vessel had become a hive of human innovation. Maria stood in the newly renovated engine room, watching as her team installed the latest fusion reactor modifications. The aliens had left what they considered an obsolete power core, but they hadn't counted on human creativity. She smiled as she remembered their first breakthrough. "The basic design is similar to our fusion reactors," she explained to Jack, who had come to check on their progress. "But they built it like a one-way street. We're turning it into a roundabout." Jack raised an eyebrow. "In simple terms, they only used it to generate power in one direction. We're creating a feedback loop. The excess energy feeds back into the system, making it more efficient. It's like recycling power instead of wasting it." The captain nodded, watching as technicians carefully aligned the new components. The engine room now looked like a mix of alien and human technology. Sleek alien panels sat next to sturdy Earth-made machinery. It shouldn't have worked, but somehow it did. In another section of the ship, Bob Walker was teaching a group of young engineers how to repurpose the vessel's old armor plating. "See these layers," he said, pointing to a cross-section. The aliens thought this was outdated because it's so thick and heavy. But that's actually perfect for what we're planning. His students watched as he applied a new coating to the armor, a mix of Earth's newest nanomaterials and compounds derived from studying the alien metals. It's like adding new ingredients to an old recipe, he explained. The base is still good, we're just making it better. The ship's transformation wasn't limited to just one country's efforts. Nations that had been rivals on Earth now worked together, each contributing their best technologies and brightest minds. Chinese quantum computers were installed alongside American AI systems. Indian software engineers worked with Russian weapons specialists. Brazilian biologists developed new life support systems with help from Japanese atmospheric scientists. One day, a team from Africa's Advanced Materials Research Division made a crucial discovery. The ship's hull, which the aliens had considered too primitive to bother upgrading, could be enhanced with a new type of carbon-based coating. The combination of old alien metal and new human innovation created something entirely new, a hybrid material stronger than either of its parents. The bridge underwent its own transformation. Where the aliens had removed their advanced control systems, humans installed their own interfaces. Holographic displays merged with physical controls, creating a system that played to human strengths. Jack insisted on keeping some old-fashioned manual backups too, remembering countless situations where simple solutions had saved lives. The aliens think we're trying to copy their technology, Maria told her team during one briefing. But we're not. We're doing something they never considered. We're meeting it halfway, taking the best of both worlds and making something new. The work wasn't without its challenges. 3 months in, an experimental power coupling exploded, nearly breaching the hull. But even that taught them something valuable. The old ship's emergency systems, which the aliens had left in place because they seemed too basic to remove, proved remarkably effective when integrated with modern Earth safety protocols. Bob spent weeks studying the ship's original weapons mounts. The aliens had stripped away the actual weapons, but the mounting points remained. They're like empty sockets, he explained to Jack, and we're building new teeth to fill them. Rather than trying to recreate alien weapons they didn't fully understand, Earth's engineers designed new ones that combined human and alien principles. Rail guns using alien power systems, missile launchers enhanced with alien targeting technology, defensive systems that no one in the galaxy would expect because they had never been tried before. The ship's computer systems posed another challenge. The aliens had left only basic control functions, thinking humans wouldn't be able to handle anything more complex. Instead, Earth's best programmers turned this limitation into an advantage. They built their own systems from the ground up, creating something unique, a hybrid of human and alien code that worked in ways neither species had imagined. It's not about making it prettier or more advanced, Maria explained to a visiting general. It's about making it work better. The aliens built everything to their standards, their way of thinking. We're rebuilding it to work with us, not against us. Each small victory brought new confidence. When they successfully tested the modified power core, cheers echoed through the ship. When the new hybrid armor proved twice as strong as the original in tests, celebrations broke out across all shifts. The Stellar Wraith was becoming something new, not just a cast-off alien warship, but humanity's first true starship. 1 year after receiving their gift, the ship had been transformed. From the outside, it still looked like the same battered vessel, but inside, it hummed with new life and possibility. The aliens had given them what they thought was junk. Humans had turned it into something unprecedented. Jack stood on the bridge, now a perfect blend of human and alien technology, and felt pride in what they had accomplished. Screens showed the ship's new systems operating at levels the aliens probably thought impossible for humans to achieve. But they had done more than just improve the ship. They had reimagined it. Ready for the full power test? Maria asked, her fingers dancing over a control panel that merged alien touch sensors with human haptic feedback. All stations report ready, Bob called from his position at the weapons console, a station that hadn't even existed in the original design. Jack took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Either their modifications would work together as planned, or, well, failure wasn't an option they were willing to consider. "Begin power-up sequence," he ordered. The ship came alive around them. The hybrid power core spun up with a deep hum that vibrated through the deck plates. New systems came online one by one, each representing countless hours of human innovation and determination. Status displays showed green across the board. "All systems nominal," Maria reported, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "Power output at 120% of original specifications." Jack smiled. The aliens had given them a ship they thought would humble humanity. Instead, it had become a symbol of human potential. They hadn't just repaired the stellar wraith. They had reinvented it. "Send word to Earth Command," he said. "The ship is ready for its first real test flight." As the message was sent, none of them could have known that their revamped vessel would soon face a challenge greater than anything they had imagined. The galaxy was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating humanity's ability to turn trash into treasure. The warning came during the Stellar Wraith's first deep space test flight. Jack stood on the bridge, watching his crew put their modified ship through its paces, when all communication channels suddenly lit up with emergency signals. "Captain," called the communications officer, "we're picking up distress calls." Hundreds of them, all at once. The main screen filled with urgent messages from across the galaxy. Through the chaos, one word kept appearing: World Ender. "Play the clearest signal," Jack ordered, his grip tightening on the command chair's armrest. A deep space station's transmission filled the bridge. "Emergency alert to all ships. Unknown entity approaching from Sector 7. It just destroyed the Zenith colony. 3 billion dead. Nothing survived. The entity calls itself the World Ender. All ships are ordered to evacuate immediately." Maria looked up from her engineering station. "Captain, I'm getting readings from that sector. Something massive is moving through space, consuming energy on a scale I've never seen before." More reports flooded in. The Galactic Council's most powerful warships had engaged the entity. They failed. The World Ender had torn through their defenses like paper, reducing their advanced ships to cosmic dust. "Show me," Jack commanded. The main screen switched to a long-range view. What they saw made everyone on the bridge fall silent. A dark mass moved through space, bigger than any ship they had ever seen. It seemed to shift and change shape, its surface crawling with what looked like living metal. "It's some kind of ancient eye," reported the science officer, analyzing the incoming data. "Early reports say it's millions of years old, maybe older. It's calling itself the Purifier of Worlds." They watched in horror as the entity approached another populated system. The defending ships, the most advanced vessels in the Galactic Council's fleet, didn't even slow it down. The World Ender absorbed their weapons fire, learned from each attack, and grew stronger. 3 days later, Earth received an emergency transmission from the Galactic Council. The crystal being that had once smugly presented them with the gift of the stellar wraith now looked shaken. "The entity cannot be stopped," it admitted. "Our most powerful weapons are useless. It adapts to everything we try. We recommend you begin evacuating your world immediately. The World Ender's path leads directly to your solar system." The news spread across Earth like wildfire. The World Ender had destroyed 3 star systems in 2 weeks. Billions dead. Entire civilizations wiped out. The galaxy's most advanced races were running scared, abandoning their worlds and fleeing into deep space. In an emergency meeting aboard the Stellar Wraith, Jack's crew watched recordings of the World Ender's attacks. The entity used technology far beyond anything they had ever seen. It could reshape itself at will, create weapons from pure energy, and learn from every attempt to stop it. "Look at this," Maria said, pointing to a particular recording. See how it analyzes each weapon used against it. It's not just defeating them. It's studying them, learning, getting stronger. Bob leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. The Council ships all use the same basic technology. Advanced, yes, but predictable. The World Ender knows exactly what to expect from them. Jack nodded slowly, an idea forming. But our ship isn't predictable, is it? We've created something new, something that combines human and alien technology in ways nobody has tried before. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. The Galactic Council races continued their retreat, evacuating their worlds as the World Ender advanced. They thought Earth was doomed, unable to understand why humans weren't running away. Instead, Earth's leaders gathered for an emergency summit. The Stellar Wraith, once a symbol of alien contempt, might be humanity's only hope. Unlike the Council's standardized warships, it was unique, a hybrid of technologies that had never been combined before. The World Ender learns from patterns, Maria explained during the summit. It expects ships to work in certain ways, to follow certain rules. But we've never followed their rules. Our ship doesn't work like anything else in the galaxy. Reports kept coming in as the entity drew closer. The World Ender had destroyed 5 more systems. 8, 10. Each victory made it stronger. The few surviving witnesses reported that it spoke before each attack, always the same message. This galaxy must be purified. All lesser beings will be removed. Earth's scientists worked around the clock, studying every scrap of data from the failed attempts to stop the entity. They noticed something interesting. The World Ender took longer to analyze and counter attacks it hadn't seen before. Unfamiliar technology confused it, if only for a few moments. That's our advantage, Jack told his crew. We're not trying to match the Council's technology. We're doing something completely different. The World Ender won't know what to make of us. But even as they prepared, doubt crept in. The Stellar Wraith, despite all their modifications, was still just one ship. They had watched the entity destroy entire fleets of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. What chance did they really have? The answer came from an unexpected source, a surviving alien scientist who had studied the World Ender's attacks, managed to send them a final message before his world fell. Its power comes from certainty. It believes it knows everything, can predict everything. The key to defeating it might lie in being unpredictable. That message gave them hope. The Stellar Wraith was nothing if not unpredictable. Every system on board was a unique combination of human innovation and alien technology, jerry-rigged in ways that even their creators sometimes didn't fully understand. As the World Ender drew closer to Earth, destroying everything in its path, final preparations were made. The ship's hybrid systems were pushed to their limits. New weapons were installed, tested, modified, and tested again. The crew trained constantly, pushing themselves and their unique vessel to the breaking point. "We've got incoming news," the communications officer announced one quiet evening. "The World Ender just destroyed the Proxima Centauri colonies. It's headed straight for us." Jack looked around the bridge at his crew. They were afraid. Only a fool wouldn't be. But they were ready. The aliens had given them a piece of junk, expecting them to fail. Instead, humans had created something unique, something that might just save the galaxy. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "The Stellar Wraith is ready for battle. We'll intercept the World Ender before it reaches our solar system." As the ship prepared for departure, Jack thought about the irony of their situation. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations were running away, their powerful standardized warships useless against this threat. Meanwhile, humanity's only hope lay in a cast-off piece of junk that they had transformed through necessity and innovation. The World Ender was coming, but it was about to learn a lesson that the Galactic Council had failed to grasp. Never underestimate humanity's ability to surprise you. With the World Ender approaching Earth, the crew of the Stellar Wraith worked faster than ever before. Maria hadn't slept in 2 days when she made the breakthrough that would change everything. She burst onto the bridge, her eyes bright with excitement despite her exhaustion. "Captain, I know how we can beat it. The ship's junk status isn't a weakness. It's our greatest strength." Jack turned from the tactical display showing the World Ender's approach. "Explain." "All the Council's advanced ships have built-in safety systems. Restrictions. Things they're not allowed to do with their technology." Maria's hands moved quickly as she pulled up diagrams on the main screen. "But our ship? It has none of that. The aliens stripped out all the safety systems along with everything else." Bob joined them at the display, catching on quickly. "She's right. We could rewrite the whole power distribution system. Turn the entire ship into one massive weapon." The next few days saw the stellar wraith transform once again. Every spare bit of power was redirected to weapons. Systems that the aliens had considered useless became vital parts of their plan. The ship's very structure became part of their weapon. "Look at this," Bob explained to the engineering team. "The hull they thought was too primitive. We can run power through it. Turn the whole outer shell into an energy conductor. No advanced ship would ever try this. It's too dangerous, too unpredictable." Maria's teams worked around the clock, installing new systems and modifying old ones. The ship's power core, already enhanced beyond its original specifications, was pushed even further. They removed every safety limit, every restriction that the aliens would have considered essential. "We're breaking every rule in the book," one engineer commented as they rewired another system. "Good thing we never read their book," Bob replied with a grim smile. They installed experimental human AI systems throughout the ship. Unlike the rigid, predictable computers used by the Council races, Earth's AIs were designed to think creatively, to adapt and improvate. They would be their secret weapon against the World Ender's ancient intelligence. The ship's bridge became a nerve center of controlled chaos. New displays showed power flowing through systems in ways their original designers never imagined. Warning lights that would have sent Council engineers running in terror became normal background illumination. "The aliens would think we're insane," Maria told Jack as they reviewed the modifications. "We're doing everything they say can't be done, shouldn't be done. But that's exactly why it might work." Even as they worked, news kept arriving of the World Ender's advance. More systems fell. More civilizations fled. The Council's mighty warships continued to fail, their standardized tactics useless against the ancient entity. "They keep trying the same things," Bob observed during a briefing. "Advanced energy weapons, quantum torpedoes, dimensional shields. The World Ender knows all their tricks, but it's never seen anything like what we're building." The modifications weren't without risk. 3 times, systems overloaded during testing, causing damages that would have made Council engineers declare the ship a total loss. Each time, human engineers patched things up and kept going, learning from each failure. "The whole ship is basically one big jury-rigged weapon now," Maria explained to Earth's military command. "We've taken everything they thought was junk and turned it into something new, something unpredictable." The Council representatives who remained on Earth watched in horror as humans transformed their cast-off ship into something they barely recognized. They sent message after message warning of the dangers, telling humans they were breaking every safety protocol in galactic civilization. "That's the point," Jack told them. "The World Ender knows all your protocols. It expects ships to follow your rules. We're not playing by those rules anymore." As the final modifications neared completion, they tested their new systems. The power core, now running far beyond its design capacity, sent energy surging through the hull in ways that made the alien observers cringe. Weapons powered up with combinations of human and alien technology that had never been tried before. "We've turned their garbage scow into something new," Bob said proudly as they ran another test. "Something that's never existed before in the galaxy." They removed the last safety interlocks, the final restrictions that remained from the ship's original design. The stellar wraith was now as dangerous to its crew as it was to any enemy, but they had no choice. Playing it safe wasn't an option against an enemy like the World Ender. "What should we call her now?" one of the crew asked as they made final preparations. "She's not the same ship anymore." Jack thought about it for a moment. The ship had been given to them as junk, a joke, meant to show humanity's place in the galaxy. They had turned it into something else entirely, a weapon born of desperation and human ingenuity. Heaven's hammer, he decided, because we're about to show the galaxy what humans can do with a little divine inspiration and a lot of crazy ideas. They painted the new name on the hull, right over the old alien markings. The council observers shook their heads, still certain that humans were going to destroy themselves with their reckless modifications. "Final systems check," Maria called out as they prepared for their first full power test. The ship hummed with energy. Power flowed through pathways that had never been meant to exist. AI systems monitored conditions that the original builders had never imagined. Every part of the vessel, from the outer hull to the smallest power conduit, had been transformed into part of their weapon. "All stations report ready," Bob announced from his position at the weapons console. Jack took a deep breath. This was it. Either their modifications would work, or, well, if they failed, the explosion would probably be visible from Earth. "Begin full power test," he ordered. The ship came alive around them. Energy crackled across the hull, turning their junk ship into a glowing beacon in space. Power readings went far beyond anything the Council would have considered safe or sane. But it worked. Every crazy modification, every dangerous change, every system they had pushed beyond its limits, it all worked together in a way that defied conventional galactic engineering. "Test successful," Maria reported, her voice filled with tired triumph. "All systems performing beyond expectations. Heaven's hammer is ready." Jack looked around at his crew, humans who had taken alien trash and turned it into humanity's last hope. They had broken every rule, ignored every warning, and created something entirely new. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "Heaven's hammer is ready for battle. We'll show the world ender what humans can do with a little junk and a lot of determination." As the message was sent, the ship's new systems hummed with power that its original builders never dreamed possible. They had one shot at this, one chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in following the rules. It was in breaking them in just the right way. The world ender appeared at the edge of the solar system, like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. Earth's long-range sensors showed it was even larger than before, swollen with the energy and material it had consumed from destroyed worlds. "All hands to battle stations," Jack ordered as Heaven's hammer moved to intercept. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person knowing these might be their final moments. "Enemy entity will be in range in 5 minutes," reported the tactical officer. Maria's voice came up from engineering. "Power core is running at maximum. Hull energy distribution is stable. Well, as stable as it's going to get." "Weapons ready," Bob added from his station. "All our crazy modifications are online. Just say the word, Captain." The world ender's massive form filled their main view screen. It was like looking at a piece of space that had come alive, a writhing mass of dark metal and energy. As they watched, it formed what looked like a mouth and spoke. "Primitive vessel detected. Analyzing. Unusual configuration. Irrelevant. All lesser beings must be purified." "That's what you think," Jack muttered. Then, louder, "All hands, prepare for combat. Show this thing what humans can do with a little junk." The battle began. The world ender struck first, launching energy beams that would have torn through any normal ship, but Heaven's hammer wasn't normal. The jury-rigged hull absorbed the attack in ways the ancient eye hadn't expected, channeling the energy through paths that shouldn't have existed. "It's working," Maria shouted. "The hull is redistributing the energy just like we planned. Firing countermeasures now." Heaven's hammer struck back. Weapons powered by impossible combinations of human and alien technology fired all at once. The world ender, expecting standard council weapons, was caught off guard. For the first time in its long existence, it faced something it couldn't immediately understand. Direct hits, Bob called out. We're actually hurting it. The World Ender paused its attack, clearly trying to analyze what it was facing. That moment of confusion was all they needed. Heaven's Hammer pressed its advantage, launching attack after attack, each one using technology combined in ways that had never been tried before. The entity is attempting to adapt, reported the science officer. But our weapons keep changing. It can't predict what we'll do next because we're not following any normal patterns. The battle raged on. The World Ender, recovering from its initial surprise, struck back with overwhelming force. Attacks that had destroyed entire council fleets hammered against Heaven's Hammer's modified hull. Hull integrity at 60%. Maria reported as the ship shook. The energy distribution system is holding, but we can't take too much more of this. Reroute power from life support, Jack ordered. We either win this fight, or we won't need air anyway. The ship groaned around them as more power surged through systems that were never meant to handle such forces. Warning lights flashed across every console. By any normal engineering standards, they should have already exploded. But normal engineering hadn't built this ship. Human ingenuity had turned every flaw into an advantage, every weakness into a strength. The World Ender's attacks, designed to counter advanced technology, struggled against their jury-rigged systems. It's learning, Bob warned as one of their weapons failed to damage the entity. We need to do something it can't adapt to. Maria's voice suddenly cut through the chaos. Captain, the power core, we could overload it. Create a reaction the World Ender has never seen before. But it would destroy the ship, Jack finished. He looked around at his crew, saw the determination in their eyes. They had all known this might be a one-way mission. The World Ender struck again, this time breaking through part of their defenses. Alarms blared as whole sections of the ship lost power. Hull breach on decks 3 through 5. Someone shouted, "We're losing structural integrity." Entity is preparing for final attack, reported Tactical. Energy readings are off the scale. Jack made his decision. Maria, start the overload. Bob, give us everything we've got left. Keep that thing focused on us. All hands, prepare to abandon ship on my mark. The power core's hum changed to a dangerous roar as Maria removed the last safety protocols. Energy surged through the ship in ways that defied physics itself. The hull began to glow from within as power sought any path to escape. Evacuation pods ready, reported the first officer. But Captain, we don't all have to stay. The ship's AI could handle the final approach. Jack shook his head. We're not leaving this to machines. Humanity got us here. Humanity will see it through. But I won't order anyone to stay. Not a single crew member moved toward the escape pods. The World Ender, perhaps sensing their plan, intensified its attack. But every hit it landed only added more energy to their overloading systems. The ship was now a bomb waiting to explode, powered by technology that broke every rule in the galaxy. Power core critical. Maria's voice was barely audible over the sound of straining metal. We've got maybe 2 minutes before it blows. Get us closer, Jack ordered. Right down its throat. Heaven's Hammer, burning with energy that should have torn it apart, drove straight toward the World Ender center. The ancient entity tried to withdraw, perhaps finally understanding that it faced something truly unpredictable. 30 seconds to core breach. The World Ender's surface rippled, trying to form new defenses. But it was too late. Heaven's Hammer, the ship that had been given to humanity as garbage, was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do. It's been an honor, Jack said to his crew. Then, Maria, trigger the overload. Let's show this thing a real purification. The power core exploded. But this wasn't a normal explosion. This was human ingenuity mixed with alien technology, safety protocols removed, physics pushed beyond its limits. The blast created a reaction that had never existed before in the galaxy. The World Ender, caught at the heart of this impossible explosion, try to adapt. But there was nothing to adapt to. The laws of physics themselves were being broken in new and unique ways. The entity that had destroyed civilizations found itself being torn apart by forces it couldn't understand or counter. From Earth, the explosion looked like a new star being born. When the light faded, the world ender was gone. Heaven's hammer, the ship that had started as a joke and ended as humanity's salvation, was no more. But in the debris field that remained, rescue ships found escape pods. Not everyone had stayed with the ship for its final run. Just enough crew had survived to tell the story of how humanity had turned the galaxy's trash into a weapon that saved civilization. The Galactic Council gathered a week later to assess what had happened. The crystal being that had once smugly given Earth a piece of junk now stood before the assembled races and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. We gave humans our garbage, thinking to teach them humility. Instead, they taught us about potential, about seeing value where we saw only trash, about breaking rules we thought couldn't be broken. We thought to show them their place in the galaxy. Instead, they showed us that we had forgotten the most important lesson of all: never underestimate those you think beneath you. As the council races debated how to rebuild, Earth began planning its next steps into space. They had lost their first starship, but they had gained something far more valuable: the galaxy's respect and the knowledge that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in having the best technology, but in making the best of whatever they had. In the years that followed, pulling a heaven's hammer became galactic slang for succeeding despite having inferior resources. But humans knew the truth. There was no such thing as inferior resources. There were only limited minds that couldn't see the potential in everything.